"Stadler!" I yelled, since that was the chauffeur's name. "Pull over!" Stadler rolled his eyes and sharply applied the brake. I smacked my teeth into the back of the headrest by accident. "Dash! I instructed him, clutching my hurt gob with one hand and opening the door with the other. I leapt out of the side and wiped out a lycra-clad wanker into the bike lane. He went psychopath on the cycle path. "Why don't you look where you're going?" he raged indignantly. "It's no bad fumby!" I raged back, expectorating flecks of blood at him, whilst whipping out my piece and smacking him across the side of the noggin with it. He instantly regretted investing in a stupid and expensive streamlined helmet that only protected the top of his head. Then I made my way around to the back of the orphanage to crouch outside the window for the lights to go out, and the inevitable moment, it made my blood boil. The single most blatant and regular instance of copyright violation in history ever. An epidemic that had started in the US, spread to Europe, heedless of language barriers, now virulently contaminated all continents, including the research bases in the polar regions where the highly qualified scientists should have known better. Not in Africa quite so much though. I refer, of course, to Happy Birthday, the most covered song of all time, that had been published by school teachers Mildred and Patty Hill in 1893 as Good Morning to All in their book Song Stories for the Kindergarten. The combination of melody and lyrics in Happy Birthday to You first appeared in print in 1912 and has probably existed even earlier. None of these earlier prints included copyrights or credits. Song remained illegal until royalties are paid to Warner. I simply could not fathom the psychology of a person who would choose to make the theft of imaginary property the central feature of a children's birthday celebration. The fact that these scum implicated children in these crimes made me retch. Indeed, at that point I did choose to make physical my disgust. Maybe I'd have overdone it at the minibar. The hubbub inside began to die down and the lights went out. This was it. The kids struck up the familiar words and I edged from the window intending to kick the back door in. It was just as well I did, as at that moment the entire window blew outwards, shattering itself. It was followed by a huge ball of flame. "Woomph!" said the fireball, only much louder and more impressive. The carnage was pretty much along the lines of what you would expect. I assumed that the person who was carrying the cake, lighted candles and all, had stumbled in the darkened room and had ignited something highly flammable. It was a scenario that was more common than one would imagine. In fact, I was sick of reading about it happening, not because I felt sorry for the would-be criminals, but because it was getting boring. Fortunately, I wasn't at all singed, having been sheltered by my position in the doorway. I decided the most useful thing I could do to help would be to get back to the limo and get it out of the way so that the fire brigade could come and clean up. As Stadler drove me home, I speculated on the ambiguous nature of the explosion. Not only had a criminal offence been prevented in itself, but the offenders were now prevented from their inevitable descent into ever-escalating criminality. Given that irony is the organising principle of the universe, it seems likely that some of the incinerated children would have gone on to become arsonists or pyromaniacs, or maybe both. You can't cheat karma.